Election fever in the air. First for Edo State and then for Ondo, as reactions continue to trail the fire that destroyed over 5,000 card readers meant for next month's governorship election in the state. What are the implications? And we preview tonight's Edo governorship debate part 1 in our drive to promote the culture of service and accountability. We take on 5 candidates vying for the governorship seat in Edo State, asking them the tough questions. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Kayode Okikiolu, sitting in for Seun Okinbaloye. Well, things seem to be moving so fast. Politically speaking, that is, as we continue our countdown to 2 elections that have been described as a litmus test for Nigeria's democracy. The conduct of these elections will go a long way in telling us how far we have come in building a democracy that we can call our own and that we can all be proud of. But in the meantime, the Independent National Electoral Commission, that's INEC, has condemned reports being peddled by some persons that last night's fire at its Ondo office was to manipulate the election in favor of the ruling party. While counting the commission's losses, the state's resident electoral commissioner, Rufus Akeju, says 5,141 smart card readers were destroyed. But then he gives the assurance that the incident will not lead to the postponement of the election, since necessary arrangements are being put in place to replace the burnt materials. He adds that the Commission remains fully committed to conducting a free, fair, credible and successful governorship election in the state on October the 10th. Governor Rotimi Akeredolu and the Commissioner of Police, Balaji Salami, also visited the scene of the fire early in the day.
The fire incident actually affected the smart cards reader store. In all, 5,141 card readers that were inside the metal compartment store when the fire erupted were completely destroyed, unfortunately. The gallant display of firemen from Ondo State Fire Service and the Federal Fire Service prevented the inferno from spreading to other parts of the office building. The incident of the fire occurrence will not affect the conduct of the forthcoming gubernatorial election in Ondo State in any form. Neither will it lead to postponement in the election. Meanwhile, necessary arrangements have been put in place for the replacement of the damaged materials.
But the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the state, Itodo Jegede, had earlier said he suspected foul play in what he called the mysterious fire that gutted the office of the electoral umpire. Well, in a statement by his campaign organization in Akure, Mr. Jegede said, "We cannot rule out foul play in the mystery fire that completely razed down the state INEC office. Now our fate is in the hands of God." Well, the election is exactly 29 days to go, and we'll continue to keep our eyes on the build-up. Well, we'd like to remind you that this Sunday, Channels Television and its partners will be putting together a governorship debate in Edo State to put to task those who are seeking the highest office in the state. It is this Sunday, September the 13th, by 7 p.m. Make it a date. And also tonight, we'll be bringing you the part 1 of the Edo governorship debate that will be taking place by 8 p.m. Not to worry, we'll give you an insight and a preview into what to expect ahead of that debate tonight. But on the program, we'll be demystifying elections in Nigeria. We've conducted elections time and again. And the big question is, how far have we come? What have we learned? How do we take those things we have learned into the conduct of subsequent elections, especially for Edo and Ondo governorship elections? So let's get into our conversation tonight. We'll be speaking with Bishop Matthew Kukah, who is a bishop of Sokoto Diocese and a member of National Peace Committee. He joins us from our Abuja studio tonight, and Samson Itodo is right next to him, the executive director, Yaga, Africa. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on the program. Well, great to have you. Now, Bishop Kukah, you have always spoken your mind about everything Nigeria, and specifically now that we're in electioneering period, debates and what have you. From what you have seen, from the political actors to generally the build-up, what do you foresee ahead of these elections?
Well, as they say about danger and opportunity, I think that perhaps up till recently there was quite a lot of anxiety, and the anxiety was understandable because of the nature of the stakes. But also some of the utterances of the key political actors were causes for very serious concern. But I think that, let me speak to the issues of the National Peace Committee. We are doing everything that we can to de-escalate the tension, because I think also this is the restlessness is also evidence of people's enthusiasm about democracy. And again, we just have to say that it is really the business of the political actors to make politics respectable. Our people are always ready to make the required sacrifices because they want a qualitative and measurable change in their lives. And democracy is about the only system that offers us this opportunity. So you can understand the anxieties, that people have, especially very young people. So I think my hope and our prayer is that the interest that other agencies are showing, His Royal Majesty the Oba of Benin has stepped up in a way and manner that he had never done before. The Peace Committee is also going to Benin, to lend the actors and also the people of Edo State our support. It's about the best we can do, but we are very hopeful that this will be evidence of the seriousness of Nigerians, and that Edo people and Edo politicians in particular must know that the rest of Nigeria and the rest of the world is taking more than a passing interest in the developments ahead. But I see a lot of opportunities, and we are hopeful that people will learn their lessons and that ordinary citizens will be able to go out and cast their votes without molestation.
Just before I come to you, Mr. Itodo, let's quickly head over to Edo State. Of course, elections will be holding in exactly 8 days. Well, in less than an hour from now, Channels Television will be hosting the first part of the Edo governorship debate as part of the mandate to integrate quality engagement as key prelude to polls in Nigeria. Our political correspondent, Seun Okinbaloye, is live in Benin City, the Edo State capital. He'll be asking the tough questions tonight, so let's join him for a preview into the debate, what to expect, and of course, how you can be a part of it. Good evening, Seun. It's great to have you with us. I mean, a lot of Nigerians are wondering, what do they need to expect ahead of tonight's debate?
Thank you so much, Kayode. In less than an hour, like you said, this very room where I'm standing will be where 5 candidates tonight in the debate series Channels Television is bringing to Edo people and Nigerians at large the agenda and manifestos of some of the candidates running for the #1 seat in the state to bear. And we're bringing some of the major issues that are confronting the people tonight. We're engaging 5 of the candidates tonight, and we continue in the series of the debate right here on Channels Television. It is our effort in ensuring that we create that kind of environment where those who are seeking public office are able to itemize and sell their ideas and themselves to the people, and as such allow them to be accountable to the people. That is one of the goals of Channels Television, and that's the reason why tonight we'll be dedicating over an hour of engagement with some of the candidates. Kayode.
Thank you very much. That debate will be starting in exactly 51 minutes. It will last for 1 hour, 45 minutes on our DSTV platform alone. The expectations are high, the stakes are equally high, and we'll definitely be joining you live. Thank you very much, Seun. Well, Mr. Itodo, pardon me, we just had to take that, slight detour just to give our viewers what to expect ahead of tonight's debate. The first part of it, that is. But, Bishop Kukah has spoken about what to expect, what he foresees. And, for you, you've been involved with conduct of elections time and again in Nigeria. What are the areas we should look out for? We'll talk about the debate, but what are the areas we should look out for generally, the loopholes we should try to fill before these elections?
Well, thank you. There are three key loopholes or areas that we need to focus on. First is the voters themselves. The voters are the reason why these elections are taking place. And so as kingmakers, they have to be given the opportunity to vote in a peaceful and secure environment. I think if there's one responsibility that the state owes the people of Edo State is to ensure that they exercise their franchise in a very peaceful and secured manner. Because as Yaga Africa released its report 2 weeks ago, our survey shows that over 71% of registered voters in Edo are interested in casting their vote. The second critical point is about the management and the transparency of the electoral process. This morning, the Peace Committee hosted a meeting where the INEC chairman and a representative of the IG of police and other members of civil society organizations were in attendance, and there were assurances that we received from INEC that they are fully prepared for these elections. And for us, when we hear that phrase, fully prepared, we expect that polling stations are going to open as at when due, 8:30 on the 19th of September, and there won't be challenges with logistics, and INEC is going to ensure that the result collation process is open, is transparent. These are some of the issues. And lastly, and more importantly, it's about the pre-election violence that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Good thing, the Peace Committee on Tuesday, 15th of September, will engage with the critical actors and the candidates to sign the peace accord, which is a binding document that commits, the candidates to refraining from all sorts of incendiary statements and hate speeches that try to incite people. And we expect that with all the institutions that have been involved in this process, the elections will be free, it will be inclusive, and it will be violent-free. That's very, very important because the entire world is looking up to Edo State for leadership when it comes to peaceful conduct of elections.
That's an important point you raised. Bishop Kukah, now let's talk about tonight's debate. I mean, let's build up to it. For a lot of electorates that will be watching, I'm sure they will be thinking, what do I need to watch out for? What do I need to listen out for? How do I know this candidate has my best interest at heart? And I mean, this is part of our mandate in ensuring that we include this in our electoral process. So, as an electorate, what should we be looking out for?
Well, I think that we must also be fair. Our political, the majority of our political culture hasn't even come to a point in which we can say that we talk about issue-based campaign, but also the fact that, look, in this country we are still dealing with very basic issues. Issues of just life and death, issues that the rest of the world that has embraced democracy has come to take for granted. Very, very basic things such as whether it's roads, whether it's water, whether it's food, whether just sending kids to school, security, and so on and so forth. So I think that, among other things, these debates are important. But we also must appreciate the fact that the most peaceful and the freest elections by themselves may not necessarily guarantee certain outcomes. And unless we develop the capacity, and I think here we must congratulate the media and civil society for doing the best they can to keep the feet of the political actors to the fire. Because what really has been the case in Nigeria, and the Nigerian politicians stand accused in this regard, that no sooner do these votes either or the electorate's mandate either captured or whether it is by free or foul means, the attitude has basically been the same, that people get a sense that after the trust has been given to politicians, they literally just becomes glorified spectators in their own affairs.
Bishop Kukah,
So
pardon
I
me,
think that, and I hope that this
I'll have to butt
debate
in
will
now.
give ordinary people.
Pardon me, please. I'll have to butt in now so we can go to break. But I'll let you land on that thought when we return. We need to go to break right now. I mean, you tell us what to look out for, the top priority areas and more when we return from this break. Well, we'll go on a break, and when we return, we'll take a look at some of these issues even much closer. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Well, we'd like to remind you then that in about 40 minutes, Channels Television will be hosting the first part of the Edo governorship debate as part of the mandate to integrate quality engagement as a key prelude to polls in Nigeria. 5 candidates will be answering tough questions tonight, questions that matter to the people of Edo State. The debate will begin by 8 p.m. and it will last for 1 hour 30 minutes. Yes, 1 hour 30 minutes on our DSTV platform only. And also would like to remind you that this Sunday, Channels Television and its partners will be putting together a governorship debate in Edo State. That will be part 2 to put to task those who are seeking the highest office in the state. It is this Sunday, September the 13th by 7 p.m. So make it a date. Well, let's rejoin our guests in Abuja this evening. Bishop Matthew Kukah, the Bishop of Sokoto Diocese and member National Peace Committee, and Mr. Samson Itodo, the Executive Director, Yaga Africa. Bishop Kukah, just before we went on that break, you were going to land on your thoughts about, debates, what to look forward to ahead of, for example, tonight's debate.
Well, yes, I mean, I was just saying that very often, debates of this nature, they throw up all kinds of opportunities for politicians to make their case. But I think perhaps one most important thing is not, apart from just listening to the politicians, the other point that I think is very important and quite significant is to let ordinary people have a chance to interrogate, some of these actors. In part because the Nigerian politician has always tried to scratch us where we are not itching. And they make the same promises about why yesterday failed. So I think that for the average politician, we don't need to have a debate about hunger. We don't need to have a debate about our insecurity. We don't need to have a debate about our lack of electricity. We don't need to have a debate about the potholes and the fact that Nigerians are getting increasingly frustrated. So for me, this is why the voices of ordinary people are important, but that we must also develop perhaps the very important opportunity to learn to identify the commitments and promises that politicians have made and try to hold them by those promises.
Well, which is why our viewers can, of course, participate in that debate on social media. So be sure to send in your question at Channels TV on Twitter and across other social media platforms. You can, of course, be a part of this debate. Put the candidates to task on major issues. Now, Mr. Itodo, there's usually the challenge. I mean, politicians sometimes say one thing, and then eventually you realize that, they're doing another thing. So, listening to them, is there a method really to sift through what they're saying, to see the real core of the matter, sift through all the rhetoric and what have you? Is there a way to do that?
Well, I think there's a way, and that's what debates provide to voters. To first understand what are the contents of their manifesto, but more importantly is the critical question of the how. And so if someone says, I'm going to create 5,000 jobs, or I'm going to create X number of jobs, it's incumbent on the voters to ask, how are you going to create these jobs? In what sectors are you going to create these jobs? And what's the time frame? And that is why debates provide the opportunity for citizens and voters to ask those questions. But I think at the heart of debates is also, that understanding that the politicians are engaging into a contract with the people. If at the end of the day they vote for them, because the people transfer their rights to them to take decisions on their behalf. Therefore, as you go to the market, because I see the debates as a marketplace where the candidates are coming to market their manifesto, the voters should be given the opportunity to ask them those difficult questions, and they have a responsibility to respond, but not only respond, but show evidence. People want to know, how are you going to lift them out of poverty? How are you going to move the state from point A to B? The how question is where we've missed it over the years. And so I hope that these debates will provide the opportunity, but also urge the candidates to embrace this culture of debates. It is important, and looking forward to the debates this evening and that of Sunday. We hope that the candidates will actually feature, because refraining from debating is actually telling the voters that you don't hold them in high regard, and therefore you don't owe them that duty to tell them why you are seeking their votes, because you're seeking their vote, and therefore the voters have a fundamental right to know who they are going to be voting for. If I'm going to go to the market to buy something, I want to have information, adequate information about what I'm going to buy, so I can make informed choices. And this debate is about making informed choices, because the greatest threat to our democracy is uninformed voters. And I'm hoping that we will not have that situation in the forthcoming election, both in Edo and in Ondo, where uninformed voters are determining the outcome of elections.
Right. Now, as we wind down on the program, Bishop Kukah, I'd like to get your closing thoughts. But specifically, I know Catholic bishops are fasting for Nigeria. And as we, look ahead to Nigeria celebrating 60 years rather, after independence, I'm just thinking, what do you think will be an appropriate birthday gift, if I can use that term, for Nigeria?
Well, I mean, among other things, I wish that the price of fuel didn't have to go up. I wish that certain decisions that had been taken didn't have to have so much of a negative impact on ordinary people. But again, this celebration calls for a renewal of our hope in our country. I mean, we've not met our expectations, but definitely this country has a lot of potential. And I see the future largely not necessarily in the mistakes of the past, but in the fact that we have a lot of young people that are mentally, emotionally, and intellectually pretty well equipped to shape the future of this country. I'm hopeful that young people will see politics not necessarily from the point of view of running for office, but from the point of view of rendering services and developing greater capacity, to help to manage society and so on. So I have a lot of hope in this great country. We've made a lot of mistakes, but we must continue to renew our commitment to the democratic process, because it is the only system that can deliver on the egalitarian society that we so desperately need. So, we as bishops, the best we can do is pray, I mean, but that is not necessarily an excuse, because people have tended to see prayer as something to laugh about, or as an expression of helplessness. But in the final analysis, it is about the only thing that, we have going for us.
Absolutely. Great place to anchor, really. Bishop Matthew Kukah, Bishop of Sokoto Diocese and member of National Peace Committee. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on the program tonight. As well as Mr. Samson Itodo, the Executive Director, Yaga Africa. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks. Always a delight.
Thank you.
Well, that's the show for tonight, everyone. But don't forget, in about 30 minutes, we'll be bringing you that debate live from Edo State. So keep that time and stay glued to Channels Television. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikiolu.